fumble a bag. Now I will not fumble a bag. Fumble a bag. Now I will not.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Belle and this is the Belle Perspective, and today we're going to be doing a reaction video. I have not had an opportunity, hadn't had an opportunity to watch the whole TGIF video where Kimmi and Maurice Scott got online and were trying to defend their marriage. I finally got an opportunity to watch the video and I'm piping hot. And I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it. So we're going to do a reaction video. I'm going to play the video, start it, stop it, give you my thoughts. And I'm hoping you guys do the same. So, before we get into the reaction video, let's get into some housekeeping items first. This is a growing channel, y'all. It is growing. I need your help. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you have, thank you so much. I still need your help. Make sure that you like the video before you leave. Comment. I give you guys my perspective. I'm asking for you to do the same. Let's get into this reaction. Okay, so I'm going to pick up exactly where I want to start talking. So just for context, I'm going to try to make this video not long, okay? I'm going to try. Funky Dineva, we love Funky Dineva over here, fellow Floridian, okay? I'm from the top, I'm from Jacksonville, he's from down to the bottom in Miami. And so Funky Dineva is on a show with Claudia Jordan and Al Reynolds called TGIF. It is on YouTube, and Fox Soul is the, I guess, the carrier of the show. So it's TGIF. And this is from the interview. Again, Kimmi and Maurice Scott from Love and Marriage Huntsville, a show that I review. I actually played the clip from, so this is in reaction. Sorry, y'all, I had to get a little bit of a build up. This is in reaction to a video or an interview that Maurice Scott had done on Carlos King's YouTube channel talking about Kimmi being admirable. And that term is probably one of the worst, makes it even worse than. Anyway, so he is saying that Kimmi is admirable for still being intimate with him, even though she's going through she's got a life-threatening illness going on. And so this interview is in response to the backlash that occurred from the interview that he had with Carlos King. So let's pick up from where I want to start talking. Funky Dineva initiates the question. We'll start here.
Opportunity to respond to a headline. A case of a man. Love and Marriage Huntsville fans slam Maurice for demanding intimacy while Kimmi goes through chemotherapy. Kimmi, what is your response to the backlash that Maurice has been getting lately?
So here's the thing, like originally, I didn't even watch it. He told me he had an interview with Carlos, and usually I just kind of get the nuts and bolts of it. You know, he was like, well, he did this, he asked me about that, and I didn't do anything. But then when I finally saw stuff just kind of everywhere, I was like, oh my gosh, what did you say? I literally was like, what did you say? And so one of the comments somebody keeps screenshotting around is the fact that I said, let me go see the interview. And people were like, I don't believe she hasn't seen it. And I just got life. Like, we got stuff. So when I actually did see it, I oh, like the words that you chose were true to me. It wasn't protecting me. The irony of the conversation in itself was that if you actually watch the show, I'm the one who initiated the conversation in regards to the fact that the chemo has affected my libido. And I know that affects him and his sexual injuries. So he has never forced me to do one single thing. He has never made me. He has never implied he was going to leave me. So the headlines.
Okay, this is where I'm going to have to pop in and disagree with Miss Kimmi. And again, Miss Kimmi was my girl on Love and Marriage Huntsville. Kimmi was my girl, and I think that a large part of the outrage is because Kimmi was, and for some folks is, their fan favorite, their girl on Love and Marriage Huntsville. But I'm going to have to I'm gonna have to disagree with Kimmi. There are ways that someone can imply something without implying it. Maurice, during the interview, I believe with Carlos King, he talked about how promiscuous he had been, and he was constantly needing to have, relations and everything like that. And it was only until he had a STI scare that he, calmed down. So, um, Kimmi knowing this, right? The fact that there's always been this part of their storyline where Maurice is wanting it 2 and 3 times a day, and it's a constant get this, get this, get this. Kimmi, you know your man. You know your man. And so because Maurice didn't say, oh, if you don't do this, I'm going to leave. He didn't say that. It's still implied because you know what kind of man you have. I also will say that Kimmi is a nurse. And a lot of nurses, when they're caring for patients that are in hospice, that are in, that are facing life threatening illnesses or diseases, what they do specifically for female patients, they prep them and let them know that, hey, your partner, your spouse may step out on you. They may leave you because they are not equipped to handle that type of thing. That sickness till death do us part thing. Men don't really be sticking around. Not like that, like that. Now, there are some that do, but most of them don't. And I've heard healthcare professionals say this to prep their patients for that. And I think that Kimmi, being the nurse that she is, the tremendous pressure that Maurice puts on her to be intimate and give her body to him on a regular basis, even prior to her facing this life-threatening illness. He didn't say it, but sweetheart, it is implied. And I think that Kimmi is being intellectually dishonest with us when she tells us that she never thought that he had implied that. There are ways to suggest without actually saying it or even giving that person the implicate. Like there are ways. I'm gonna have to call BS on that. Let's keep going. I'm gonna try to not make this video too long, like I said before.
In order to get likes and tags, I absolutely get it. But the words that he chose to use throughout that interview, I felt were a bad choice of words in regards to me because it didn't protect me in the words that he chose to use to describe.
Okay, I'm just gonna one more thing, y'all. I'm gonna have to say, Kimmi, Maurice never protects you. In all of the seasons that I've watched Love and Marriage Huntsville, I have never seen Maurice protect Kimmi in the way that he should. Even with the whole situation in terms of Kiowa and what we just watched in the last episode last Saturday, Kimmi was saying that Maurice set her up to be called the side chick, the XYZ, to protect Kiowa and Maurice Jr., and he pretty much left Kimmi out to dry, which I have thoughts on that. What is there to protect if everything was on the up and up? I think Maurice was playing games with both of them. I think Maurice was stringing both of them along. I think Maurice was stringing Kiowa along. And when he finally made his decision, he decided to let Kiowa go in the worst way and moved on with Kimmi and didn't handle things the way that he should have. And because of that, he's trying to protect Maurice Jr. from his own image, is what it is. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about this right now. But that is what I am saying. Maurice has never protected you. So what's new?
Like I think he said, bend over and take it. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And I told him, I said that was awful. The wording choice was awful.
I want to jump in, say something real quick. I was horrified too with some of the language. And I spoke about having a situation where it was the reverse. I had a man that has issues. I want to ask both of you. Kimmi, I want to ask you first. Do you feel the pressure? Like if I don't satisfy my man, even when I don't feel good,
am I nervous? Do I feel a way about the future of my marriage? And Maurice, if you could take back what you said, would you rephrase it or do you stand on exactly what you said?
So for me, like I said, we filmed it and everything.
See, that was the moment right there where Maurice should have piped in and said, I've reflected on this. Maybe that wasn't the best way that I should have handled that. Maybe that wasn't the best thing to say. Not even why would you expect someone who is dealing with a life-threatening disease to perform for you when it's not even necessary or required? And I'm going to say this, Kimmi, again, I'm going to have to call BS because I remember writing it down in my review notes cuz I do review the show. Check out my review, shameless plug. I remember writing it down. She's afraid her husband is going to cheat on her or leave her. So she feels like she has an obligation to do this to keep him. In the confessionals, Kimmi, you've had it's implied. You've said it. You have said it in ways that you have said it, sweetheart. You implied it when you were talking to Andrea about how you have a low libido and how Maurice is wanting it 2 and 3 times a day. Again, when they were preparing to go on that retreat, there was a retreat that he was going to go on with Dr. Francis. He wasn't even going to agree to go unless she was giving it to him 2 and 3 times the entire time that they were there. Again, how can all of us are halfway intelligent to understand what's really going on? Kimmi, please. Yes, you were afraid. And that's the only reason why you're doing this in the first place. Because if you didn't feel like he was going to leave you, why are you doing it? Why are you rolling over and taking it if you didn't feel like you had no other choice? Because if I have a choice in the matter, I've got a life-threatening disease, right? And I've got chemicals being pumped into my body and I don't know if I'm going to live or transition. I have a choice in this matter. No, sir. You better go go grab you some lotion. You better go get you some Vaseline. But Kimmi, if you felt like you had an option, why are we even here? Why are we even here having this conversation?
For Kimmy, I never felt like he was going to leave me. That wasn't the case whatsoever.
I don't think you're being honest.
Even before our chemo issue came up, we already had conversation about our sex life. We talked about our sex life before we got married. So this is like an honest statement. In Kimmy's world, I had made up in my head 7 days was the limit. Like, I would never make my husband go more than 7 days. I don't care if we're angry. I don't care what's going on. That was always Kimmy's rule in her head. And so in this case, we went about 2 weeks, and I was like, ugh. So it was my choice because
I'm going to stop it and I'm going to pick it back up. Okay, so you agreed 7 days go by. I got to make sure I give some my husband some. But life is happening, right? At the same time. Let me just put it into context real quick in terms of their relationship. When Kimmi and Maurice, I'm sure, got married, they talked about this is how often we're going to be having sex, right? Okay. When Kimmi and Maurice have the conversation, they get married. Kimmi is telling him, these are the things that I'm expecting you to do to contribute to the house. I'm sure Maurice agreed at the time, right? So as they start doing life together as a married couple, right? Maurice is getting busy. He is in school. He is, studying for his final exams. He is studying for the bar. He is doing all of the things, right? So he is not as active in doing the housework. I don't want to use that as an excuse, but I think it's other things as well. But I'm going to just use this for the context of where I'm going here. So Maurice agreed at the beginning of their marriage that he was going to make sure that he was going to contribute to the house and do the things, right? I'm sure. right? Because that's how it seems like Kimmi would operate to me. As life started happening and they're doing life together, things started getting in the way, and a lot of that burden, a lot of that duty fell upon Kimmi to keep going, right? And despite the fact that life is happening and Kimmi is asking, hey, I need help here, she is still filling in the gap for Maurice as life is happening and he is not able to fulfill his end of the bargain in terms of housework, etc. So flip that around. Yes, Kimmi, you agreed to have 7 days go by. You need to make sure you're giving it to your husband, right? That's a wonderful idea. But life is actually happening to you right now in this very moment. And the fact that you feel like you can't slack off out of what is it? Why don't you feel like you can slack off in this duty? Again, I'm not saying that you just let you just let your marital duties fall by the wayside. But again, you have good reason as to why you cannot fulfill the duties. So if you're able to stand in the gap for Maurice and wash the extra dishes, put the dishes in the sink when he really, literally, this is conversations from the show, could have literally put the plate in the sink, and you're just okay, he busy, let me just do it for him. If you can stand in the gap for him for menial things like that, why can't he stand in the gap for you with this? No. I understand what you both agreed to, but life happens. And if he's allowed to allow life to happen and he can fall off on his duties, life is happening to you and he should be able to cope and adjust as well.
Oh, and that's fulfilling for both of us. It's fulfilling for both of us. Like at the end of
I'm going to have to stop you right there. You're saying it's fulfilling to both of you, but didn't you say you've been faking it? How was that even? So are you faking it or is it fulfilling? Which one is it?
hey, he's the only one missing out. Missing out. Because
You
I
said
don't
you were
have
faking it.
climax. I don't have the same arousal. You know what I'm saying? So I never had that conversation based on the fact that I thought he was going to leave. I know I love my husband and that is a big part of our hormones. I don't physically hurt. It doesn't hurt me to have sex. It doesn't do that whatsoever. It was just the arousal of the moment in the climax that is very different for me. So I'm just not getting the same fulfillment out of the sexual activity that he was.
We got it. So let's get Maurice in here. Maurice, do you think it was selfish for you to force your wife to suffer through it while she was fighting for her life? Your words.
Your words.
Now, those are my words. And I'm going to own the words that I say. However, you have to take everything into full context. I didn't have knowledge of her suffering. I didn't have knowledge of her rolling over and giving to me when she didn't want to, right? Or didn't feel the need to. At the end of the day, this is the thing. She surprised the hell out of me on television, talking about, you know what? I'm not getting it. I'm faking it. All that stuff. Like, listen,
Here's the thing, Maurice. This is your wife. You've been with her for probably over 7 years. Yeah, because you didn't propose to her. You dragged her for 7 years and hadn't proposed. You've known this lady for over 7 years now. You don't know when she's suffering and when she's uncomfortable. You don't know when she's not feeling good. Okay, I understand you didn't know she was faking it, but honestly, that was just a bruise to your ego. You weren't concerned at the fact that she was just doing this for you. You weren't like, oh my God, babe, I didn't know you felt like you had to do this for me. It was more so, oh, you faking it? I'm not pleasing you? Right. Exactly. That was it. It was a hit to your ego. You thought you was putting it down. That's the only reason why you were shocked and surprised.
this is on national TV. So I'm like, oh, really? So you're faking it. This whole time I'm thinking that you're doing it. It puts everything into context when you watch the television
It
show
doesn't.
and then you actually see the interview. Because for me to find out that she's faking it, and then for me to analyze a situation and say, it's admirable for her to do this because, number one, Most people that do things for you let you know that they're doing it for you. They don't let you find out later on, oh, wow, you were actually hurting for you.
That's not true. Number one. Number two, that's you. That's something you would do. You would let somebody know that you're doing something for them. That's the kind of person you are. But again, if you've known your wife for years, how do you not know that someone who has a unidentified mass in their body that is life threatening? How do you not know?
Going through something and you were sharing it and you were doing it for me. Usually would change my words to do my context in anytime interview.
Okay, change your words.
I think
You don't think it was a little cringy to even want to have sex with her while she was going through that? And I asked that because typically, if somebody's not feeling well, we don't make them cook, we don't make them wash the dishes, we may not make them take their kids to school, and all of those things are oftentimes considered a wife's duty. You didn't think it would be all right for her to forego that one duty while she was going through this?
See, this is the thing. We weren't doing all the days she wasn't feeling good. Unless I didn't know that either.
You don't know?
Interesting.
Oh, can you ask you earlier? Would you rephrase anything that you said? Because it seemed your wife just revealed that it was your words, right? And how you said things, bend over and take it. If you, I've done this many times. I've said stuff, and it's like, I wish I would have said it like this. Would you rephrase anything? Would you do over, or are you like, no, I meant it exactly?
Anytime my wife feels like she's not protected, like whatever I do, that's my job. That's why God gave her to me, is to make.
This was the second time that Claudia kicked him that ball and said, and gave him an opportunity to reflect, and he still did not do it. Y'all need to watch the rest of this video. I mean, yeah, watch the rest of this interview. I'm not going to keep going because I don't want it to be too long. But later on in the interview, Claudia says, listen, I gave you 2 opportunities and you still did not apologize and at least rephrase what you're saying. Because honestly, what he said was absurd. It never should have been said. And the wording should never been. It's not the wording, it's what the context of what he was saying is absurd. Period. So he could have laced it with soliloquies and colloquialisms and all of the things, and it still would have been trash, in my opinion. And later on in the interview, Claudia pretty much says, listen, y'all sound like y'all going in 2 different directions. And despite the fact that Kimmi, I understand that you're sitting here, but you look uncomfortable. And Kimmi pipes up and says, no, I'm not uncomfortable. It's just there are things that, Maurice is saying where he had an opportunity to answer the question and he missed it completely. That is what he does. And he does it intentionally at this point. So y'all get down in the comments. Let me know what y'all think, child. Was a big mad, baby. When I listened to this morning, I was like, no, I'm gonna have to talk about this. Okay. Y'all get down in the comments. Let me know what y'all think. As always, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, support Black women. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.